We are having few examples, like one is the edge firewall topology, wherein here you are having an internal network, which is your enterprise internal network. Say it is the network of one of your development cell in your organization, and via some modem or router or certain gateway, it has got connected to external network, which is internet. Obviously most of the organizations are now available online throughout, so your internal network has got associated with an external network, which is internet. And as soon as this association has got established, your internal network is very much susceptible to security threats that may come down from the outside network to your internal network. Moreover, through your external network association, you are having again a third party association with VPN clients network. So such kind of architecture is very much like popular nowadays, wherein your internal network is associated with internet, and your via internet you are associated with certain VPNs. Now in such a state, when you try to establish your security gateway just in between your internal network and external network, that security gateway becomes your edge firewall. That means between your internal network and external network, at this periphery, at this particular perimeter, at this particular boundary, you are having a machine, you are having a system or a gateway that is working like your edge firewall. So this is topology number one, in which we can implement such kind of security gateways that help us prevent any sort of security threats coming down to our internal networks. Now the next kind of topology we can apply TMG on is three-leg perimeter security, wherein you are having an internal network over here, and this line represents the edge security. But over here you are having the third component apart from internal network and external network. There is another component which is called perimeter network. Now let me define what is a perimeter network. Suppose you are hosting certain web applications through your internal network, and those web applications are accessed by remote clients via internet from this internal network. Now you don't want that a remote client should be able to access your resources directly. So instead of providing a remote client access to your original resources, you create a duplicate or a clone network. And you create that network in such a way that your insensitive resources get exposed to the public environment. That kind of network is called perimeter network, that prevents the external access to your internal network. That means anybody, any client which is sending the request via internet will be redirected to the perimeter network, and it will not go till internal network. The internal network can only communicate with the perimeter network. So if anybody in internal network wants to communicate to the external network, the path will be this way: internal to perimeter and perimeter to external, external to perimeter and perimeter to internal. That's how. So such a kind of perimeter network also becomes the part of this three-legged perimeter topology. When we establish a security gateway in such a kind of architecture, we call it three-leg perimeter security gateway. Such kind of perimeter networks are also called as DMZ, that is demilitarized zones. Militarized zone is that particular region in which you are having the military rules, the military strictness and regulations, the policies. So in between two countries' boundaries, there is a particular area or region wherein there is no military rule that is applied. So that is called demilitarized zone. So this particular perimeter network applies for that particular zone on which you do not have very much hardened security policies. It is very much exposing all the insensitive resources to the external environment. So This is the second topology on which you can apply the TMG security gateway. The third one is a very simple topology that is called single network adapter. That means you are having an internal network and you are having an external network, and what you do that you propose a particular local host which is actually the part of your internal network only, and establish your TMG security gateway over this local host. So every traffic that will come inside will pass this way and this way, this way and this way. External to local host to internal, internal to local host to external. So most of the threads that will be coming down to your internal network will be handled wholly by this local host on a single network adapter. And that's why you call it a single network adapter topology. This is the third topology on which you can apply the threat management gateway security architecture. The next one is the front firewall. You can use a gateway in a entirely different mode and sense also. Like this is another very popular architecture that is generally used in most of the organizations, where you are having an internal network, and between your internal network and external network you propose almost everything in between. That means you are having perimeter network in between, you are having your front firewall in between, you are having a back firewall in between, and so on. Any request coming from external network will come to internal network only after qualifying the security policies of all these three gateways. So that's how you can call it a three-way authentication, after which only the request will be coming down to any system, any machine on internal network, and the same will be processed for the outgoing traffic as well. So any gateway that will face the external network directly is called the front firewall, and any gateway that will face all the traffic coming up and down from the backend side is called back firewall. So these are the two varieties of firewall you are having, or the gateways you can implement. That is one which is directly facing the external traffic, and second which is indirectly taking the external traffic. So this is the I believe it is fourth, it is the fourth topology on which you can apply the TMG security gateways. And this was our last one. So in all we are having 5 topologies. One, and the first one is edge firewall. The second one goes to 3-leg perimeter topology. The third one goes for single network adapter topology. The fourth one is for front firewall, and the fifth one is for the back firewall. So these are the 5 places or 5 locations where you can implement any security gateway. Now when we are talking about the TMG, that is threat management gateway security, which is the topic of discussion today, this particular gateway is the 2010 innovation of Microsoft Corporation. Microsoft began developing the security gateways from the year 2003-2004. So in 2004 they came up with a very good security gateway that is called as ISA, that is Internet Security Accelerator 2004 version. They came up with a standard and enterprise version. It went very good, and sooner they came up with an upgraded version of ISA, that is ISA 2006, which I discussed in the previous session also, which is called Internet Security Accelerator 2006 gateway. The 2006 gateway performed really good, and it was upgraded to another gateway proposed in 2010, that is Threat Management Gateway 2010. This basically in complete sense you call it Forefront Threat Management Gateway 2010, which is being recommended for most of the servers, even the recent most server of Microsoft, that is Windows 2012 server, recommends TMG 2010 implementation. Although after TMG 2010 implementation, we came up with UAG implementation also, but it is not still very much popular amongst the enterprise circles. So that's why we avoided the ISA discussion or UAG discussion and we came up to TMG discussion, because this truly stands for a very popular security gateway architecture. Now let me clear over here only that TMG security gateway, whenever you implement this security gateway on any local host, so when you talk about a local host, wherever you are seeing the local host in our diagrams, this local host is that particular server machine on which TMG security gateway has been installed and configured. So for TMG security gateway, you need certain server packages. There are certain prerequisites required for installing TMG security gateway. So you can install it on 2008 servers. You can install it on 2012 servers of Windows. Can I install it on Linux? No, you can't install it on Linux. Although there are certain emulators using which even the Linux servers can use the TMG security gateways. Now that depends that whether your particular organization is willing to use those emulators or not. But yes, even if you are having a Windows TMG security gateway over here, you can have any sort of clients inside. The internal network can be a Linux based, can be a Mac based, can be a Windows based, doesn't bother. The only botheration in installing TMG security gateway is that it is majorly installed on Windows server versions. Oh, Rajesh is having a question. Can it be installed in iOS? Oh, you talk about Mac operating systems? Well, again, Rajesh, my answer is same, that in case you are utilizing certain operating system emulators like Wine, I discussed Wine earlier, which is called Windows emulator, generally used by Linux people. So until you are having such kind of emulators, you can't install it on Mac or Linux. TMG has been developed by Microsoft Corporation for their server versions. So that means TMG, since it has been developed by Microsoft, it is majorly for the Windows server versions. Is it clear, Rajesh? Okay. So let me move ahead with the actual TMG to Gateway 2010 discussion. Is there any question till this point? Any of you? Okay, we'll go ahead. The first one is that where you will get it from, it's freely available in 3 different modes. You are having a standard edition, you are having enterprise edition, and you are having a management only edition, which you can download from this particular link. You can go on Microsoft.com and you can shift down to this particular link. TMG is generally workable on 64-bit operating system. That means 64-bit server versions it is more successful on. Although you can install this particular link or this particular version of TMG on 32-bit operating systems also. In my particular suggestion, if you want to do the testing and actual practical of it, go for this particular version, the Enterprise Edition for 64-bit server operating system. So you can have Windows 2008 server 64-bit and install TMG this version over it. How to do it, that we'll be discussing very soon. Now there is some discussion or a contrast between ISA 2006 and TMG 2010. The corporate professionals and the security administrators had a quite good argument of replacing ISA 2006 with TMG 2010, because 2006 has been such a great success for the security gateways in terms of Windows operating systems that it was not so easy for migrating from ISA 2006 to TMG 2010. So there are certain common features between both of them. Both are behaving like network firewall or application firewalls. Both are having web access protection. That means they are having, website blockers and URL filters and all. Both are having the open web access and SharePoint publishing. Both are having exchange publishing using RPC over HTTP. Both are using the IPsec security modeling, and both are having the web caching, properties. So these are certain normal properties of ISA and TMG, which are common in both of them. But mind you that over here also, uh, ISA do not talk about the recent and most prominent security threats that our corporate architectures are facing nowadays, which TMG dealt with. So these are the enhanced features of TMG. It started with the native 64-bit to increase the performance of the machine. Second thing, they went ahead with web antivirus and anti-malwares. So you are not in need of installing any sort of security or antiviruses or anti-malwares in the internal network, because you are having it on your TMG gateway. So TMG gateway is having uh, very fine web antivirus and anti-malware. It was having a good UI management, which even ISO 2006 was having, but not much better. You are having the email anti-malwares, anti-spammers, because most of the threats, corporate threats, come via certain malicious mails or spammers. So you are having the email security implementation in TMG. You are having URL filtering on the basis of content, nature and behavior of the incoming traffic, and very fine security policy that came just with TMG 2010, and it was not there with ISA 2006, is NIP, that is Network Intrusion Prevention Solution or Systems. NIP actually came up with TMG 2010 and Microsoft Essentials. So this particular feature of security you will find only in these two applications of Windows. You will find it in TMG Security Gateway, and you will find it in Microsoft Security Essentials, that generally is provided with Windows 2000 and Windows 7 and Windows 8. And you are having ISP redundancy in order to see to it that the identity of the internal networks or even the identity of the gateway will not get exposed to the external network. So these were the enhanced features of TMG. How these features are enhancing the security of the internal architecture or internal network, how these features prepare TMG as a better security gateway, that will be seen now. So here I go. You will download that particular version, any possible version of TMG that you would like to install, and you will double click on it, and here you will start with the first window. That's the installation wizard of Microsoft Forefront Threat Management Gateway. As you proceed ahead, they will take you to this possible window, which is Threat Management Gateway Enterprise, and you are having different options over here. So if you want